Trials of Mana is an RPG that gives you a lot of options. Characters with different intertwining storylines, endlessly different environments to explore, and a rewarding class and ability system come together. But can this remake live up to expectations and compete with other popular role-playing titles on the Nintendo Switch? Hello! I'm a big fan of RPG games. I've played a variety of them in my life, and some of my favorites being from Square Enix. This is my first RPG like this in a while, so I was excited to try it out. It was also a lot cheaper than other Switch games at 60 Canadian dollars, and I didn't initially understand why. This game is hilarious, and in some ways I'm not certain it's intentional.
Heyo! Looking for Lumina? That'd be me! Nice to meet ya!
What is that?
The price cut could be to compete with other releases of the game on other consoles, but when you compare the price of this Switch game to another RPG on the Switch like Octopath Traveler, which is around $80 Canadian, with taxes might as well round that to 90 or 100, and now Trials of Mana seems worth it. But is it any good? Let's find out.
Then we can all make her pay. She's gonna get it.
There's a lot of emotion and intensity in this game right off the bat. Each of the characters you pick have an introduction in their home area, and there is no break from the devastating catastrophes each person faces. These poor towns. I'm actually happy with the eccentric voice acting throughout the game because it helped minimize my depression that would have set in otherwise. I'm only kidding, but the 3 characters you choose will dictate the story you see and the details that you get. There are 6 characters to choose from, all with their own backstories as well as their own classes and abilities to choose from. I chose Angela, the spellcaster of course, but seriously, pick her, she's OP as heck. You pick all 3 characters in the beginning, but after you venture out with your main character, you eventually meet your companion characters early on in your travels. I won't spoil too much of the plot, but the story isn't overly predictable, so I didn't get bored. There are multiple villains, each with their own plots, relating to how they are personally destroying the world. Depending what character you choose, you'll interact with the particular villain more or less, so there's definitely some replayability to learn more about what is happening to the villains and to the other characters. Things were happening that I didn't really know everything about. By the end, I was a bit confused about who this guy was, and I realized that I didn't get to see him as much because I didn't get to play either Kevin or Charlotte. Naturally, because I chose Angela, I saw more of the plot for the Crimson Wizard, and a little bit of the plot for Belladonna, since she's the main antagonist for both Hawkeye and Reese. Is that how you say her name? This game gives a lot of Dark Cloud vibes with the Crimson Wizard and the action RPG fun. It's quite nice. You can tell some of the scenes though are meant to be very impactful, and may have been more so in the original because it didn't have voice acting. Some of the serious tone is gone despite the horrendous events that continue to happen in this world.
Still alive, I see. Oh.
This would have been remedied by maybe fleshing out some sections of the story just a touch more with a bit more dialogue. I just felt like I was blowing through the story too quickly and would have enjoyed spending more time in certain areas, but there really is no need to grind either. Like you may need to in some other RPGs, but typically grinding makes it even more boring, so I really wasn't bored throughout this entire game. And I'm not saying that there isn't a lot of story, because there really is a lot, but I think because the story is segmented, you won't really get the whole picture unless you replay the game with all the other characters. I wouldn't worry too much about your selection though with who you choose or the classes, because I don't regret the characters that I chose based on story or gameplay, so I don't think you will either. What you could do is, after you pick who you like during your first playthrough, you can just go through the second playthrough with all the other characters that you didn't play, because there's only 6 anyway, and you need to pick 3 each time. Trials of Mana encourages replayability, and quite frankly, after playing through my first time, I want to try the other characters and see how things turned out for them. Let me know down in the comments who you picked, and if you regret it or not. The visuals in this game are very enticing, and a clear improvement from the old game made in 1995, only 2 years after I was born. I love the visuals, but the only improvement I would suggest is maybe with the camera. What I think I would want from the camera is to see it maybe zoomed out a bit, or just more options for the zooming during battle. You can target with your R trigger button, but this doesn't necessarily fix the problem. Yes, the camera's not the best, but you honestly don't even need it to beat enemies most of the time anyway. Just mash the A button followed by a combo and you'll be fine. But it would be nice to have camera options on an action game like this, because it looks so good. When it comes to gameplay, I'm going to start by telling you right now to play in hard mode with any character combination you want. People online might recommend specific combinations of characters that'll work well together, and I think it's fun to consider, but I genuinely believe you'll have fun with this game and can beat it with any combination of the characters. In my humble opinion, I would choose your character based first on who you like or what types of classes you enjoy, and then second maybe on what story you'll want to see. I picked hard mode right away for a challenge, and I don't usually do that. I was able to get through with very minimal deaths, which is not something I can say about most other games I play. I feel like it was a good level for me, especially once I got the hang of the game and using abilities, so I would imagine the other difficulty options would be way too easy for me. So I actually think they could have added an extra hard mode or something to make it a little bit more challenging. The game was fun though, and I don't necessarily even need this. I enjoyed going through the story, and I like that I didn't have to grind to keep going through it. The way bosses die is very satisfying. The eyeballs just fell apart, it's great. With each new class upgrade, your character potential just opens up. Depending on the class upgrades you choose, you'll have different skills you can unlock and different stat distributions that'll help you defend yourself. The battles got a lot more fun after the first class upgrade, relatively early on in the game, because you unlock a variety of skills that you can use instead of just attacking with your weapon. Classes almost feel like you're playing through an MMO. They're simple at first, but then as you progress, your classes get more skills and it adds complexity to how you can beat your enemies. It's fun being able to have some strategy, and early on you don't get to use a lot of skills. Magic eats up MP so fast, so it's hard to really play Angela until her third class. Angela is a little tough to play in the beginning because she has a low mana pool and regeneration doesn't really come until later on, but even with this I didn't really feel like it was a painful challenge to overcome, but it was just a natural progression and it was really fun and rewarding each time I was able to upgrade my class finally. I really enjoyed being able to choose what class upgrades I want and the skills that I want to really specialize the character in the way that I want to play. The game has a lot of cool added features like the magic pot system, which lets you grow items based on seeds that you find, which is awesome. But there are some features that should make an RPG feel more fulfilling, and I don't think I use them enough to actually enjoy them fully. For example, there should be stronger enemies at night, but I didn't feel a change in difficulty between day and night. So if there was, I never noticed it, and I never purposely tried to go to bed until the morning just so that I could play it during the day. I didn't notice that I actually would use an inn to then sleep until the morning to then venture. I would just go. On Salamando Day, fire is stronger, but I didn't feel the need to use elemental days to take advantage of a boss, for example. I honestly didn't find the game hard enough to even need to look into these features. Maybe it's just a personal thing, but I think it's okay to have less functions if I'm using them more, so I wish I was able to take advantage of these features more. I wish there was more of a benefit to actually use them. Just some closing and final thoughts. This game is really great. I felt like I blew through the story going from one place to another, but that's not a bad thing because there is a lot of story. The story itself is not predictable and you really don't need to grind in this game, so I didn't get bored between chapters. Once you really get into the game and look past some of its shortcomings, Trials of Mana is a really fulfilling adventure. For the price I paid, it's a pretty big game. Compare that price tag to other RPG games at 80 Canadian, this is a great option that I certainly think is worth it. And hey, the game only crashed once and I did share. This is certainly one of the RPGs you should be adding to your collection. If you enjoyed the review, like the video and let us know what you thought about Trials of Mana in the comments below.
Oh, no. It's safe, though. For now, at least. It's so unstable. It seems like the Benevodon could be unsealed at any minute.